So this lecture is called Wonder Working Power of Attachment from 1963. But for me, I'm going to call it Levels of Vision because I think it makes more sense to call it that. And just for the sake of like YouTube's title, there's not many characters I have, so I don't want to put a long title. But if you want to look this up, it's called Wonder Working Power of Attachment from 1963. So he goes into these different levels of vision that William Blake says. And he talks about single vision, twofold vision, threefold, and fourfold. Now, I have my own experiences with these visions. We all do, really. And Neville gives one of his experiences, but we're going to talk about single vision first. So single vision is basically observing things as they are. So you look at a tree. He gives this example. Neville gives an example of looking at a tree and it's just a tree. You look at a man, it's just a man. You look at a rock and it's just a rock. It's nothing more than what it is. You see the world just kind of as it is. A stomach is just a stomach. There's no meaning behind it. There's no understanding behind it. It just is what it is. That is single vision. And then there's double vision, which is seeing things as a symbol. So you look at so he gives an example of looking at a fire. You kind of see a fire, you light it up, it sort of dances around, and then eventually it withers and it goes and turns into ash. And what you could see from that is your life. You can see how that resembles your life, like how a candle resembles your life. William Blake gives an example of this in his poem called The Fly, and how he likens a fly to a man, and how sort of a fly, you sort of swipe your hand at a fly to kill it, and he basically says eventually, a man comes and he dances and sings, and eventually a blind hand shall brush his wing. And so he likens a fly to a man. He sees it all as the same thing. And that's double vision. So double vision is also another example of double vision is it's seen like a person who only wants to do things out of their own personal and selfish gain. Instead of seeing just a person, you would see a sort of a flea. You would see a parasite. That's double vision. Seeing things as what they symbolize. It doesn't matter if the person is the greatest dictator, the most powerful dictator in the world. It doesn't matter if they're highest in office. It doesn't matter where they're at in the world, how much money they have. If they're doing things just for their own selfish gain, then that's a parasite. That's a blood-sucking insect. That's how God sees them inside. Because God doesn't judge after appearances. God doesn't look to your money and think that you're better than somebody. That's not how it works. It really comes down to your intention. And your intention sort of will shape your symbol of what you are. And so they're a flea. And William Blake actually would draw people that way as well. He drew a flea. If you look it up, he has a painting on called The Flea, and it's a man. It's in the shape of a man. That's how he saw people. And we're basically Blake kind of strongly warns against being in single vision all the time. He basically likens it to sleep. In the poem, he actually calls it Newton's sleep. And so he was very big on you always be in twofold. Always see things as symbols. Always see it as something relating to your life rather than just seeing things as they are. Just like, don't look at a tree and just see a tree, essentially. And then he talks about third vision. Now, third vision is what you and I are doing when we imagine. When we're taking double vision, which is seeing things as symbols, and we are states, if you will, seeing things as states and woven them together to make some type of conversation or some type of image or scene that implies what we otherwise want. That is third vision. And third vision, Neville speaks about how he created many things from third vision. Sort of a third vision is you're threading together states to imply fulfillments of yourself. That's all we're really doing. You're taking these, otherwise what you're seeing from double vision, these symbols, and putting it together to imply something about you within. And Neville says, I created many things from third vision. Now, I don't want to get too into it because I think at this point we all kind of know what third vision is. You can eavesdrop. You wove together certain states that resemble what you otherwise would. Like you take a friend and make them see you the way you want to see you. You put them in that state, put yourself in a state, and then you can listen to them tell you. You can eavesdrop on the conversation, hearing them tell you that you are who you want to be. That is, you're putting together states to imply something about you. Really, that's all this is. It's all states. You see yourself as a state. You see yourself as a symbol. You see them as a symbol. They represent the they represent you, telling you who you want to be. It could be out of jealousy or out of praise. It's all symbols, and you interplay these images, these symbols, and you make an image out of it, and that image implies something about you. That is third vision. Now, you can create out of third vision. You don't need to create out of fourth vision, but fourth vision, that's really what I want to talk about here. Fourth vision is, Neville says it's the difference between being blind and seeing. It is completely different than third. See, third vision is like you can imagine something. You can paint something wonderful inside of yourself. And it could be rather blurry. It can be like Neville talked about this when he left the army. He was back at home in New York when he was in the army. He said the image wasn't like perfect. It was shadowy. It was dark. But he tried his best to sort of make it real to him. So you don't really need to make it perfect. But fourthfold vision is when it is basically identical, if not more real than this reality. That's fourthfold vision. That is the. I'm not sure if there's a way to get there every time. I'm not sure if there's a method. It sort of has. Whenever I've entered fourthfold vision, it just came upon me. It was never something I did. But you don't know that you're dreaming, essentially, or I should say, you know that you're dreaming, but you can't tell if it's not real. It looks just as real as this world, but yet you know you're dreaming. You know you're imagining this. That's the difference. And he gives an example how he found himself at sleep at night, and he woke up in a dream. But where he was at, he was at his house. He was awake at his house. He knew he was sleeping, but he was completely awake. And then eventually it transferred over into this beautiful building where it seemed like almost like a hotel. And he said from this, he bumped into two people at the hotel, and it was a woman and her daughter. And he told them, like, ladies, this is a dream. And they looked startled, like they ran away from him. And as one would do if some man came up to you and said, like, hey, this is a dream, you would probably feel startled. And I have my own experience with that. I kind of want to share just my experience now with it. There's been many times where I've became conscious inside a dream. But the difference when it starts to feel real to you is when you touch it, when you actually physically touch things in your dream, is when it starts to feel strange. Because even Neville said that he saw a painting in this fourthfold vision. And he said he thought when he touched it, his hands were going to go through it. But it didn't. It was physically real solid. It was just as solid as this world. And I remember I had my own experience with that, where I fell asleep and then I woke up and I was in a different country. I was in Cuba. And I was vacationing there with my family. And I remember I walked up to, I realized in this moment, I said, I'm dreaming. I was in front of a door, and I just was aware. I just knew I was sleeping back at home, and this is a dream. And I walked through, the door just sort of opened, and it was already open. So I walked through, and I see my parents, and they're packing their bags like we're leaving. Like the trip was over. And I walked up to my mom, and I told her, I was like, hey, this is a dream. I'm dreaming. I'm sleeping right now back at home. This is a dream right now. And they wouldn't look at me. Like they didn't have much of a reaction, but they didn't know what to say to me. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to touch her shoulders and sort of shake her to tell her this is a dream. And I remember when I thought to myself, my hands are going to go through her if I touch her shoulders, because it's a dream. This isn't real. And the moment I touched her shoulders, like I felt like as you would when you would touch someone's shoulders, it felt real. It was just as solid as this world. And I remember it shocked me. It really, truly shocked me inside when I saw that it's just as physically real as here. I felt the flesh inside of myself just like that. And that was the moment it triggered for me that this is more real than I thought. And although it appears like a dream, I almost couldn't tell. Like, put it this way, if I passed away in my bed back at home, there would be no difference. It's like I didn't skip a beat. I just found myself in a different world where I'm just experiencing this. So there's and Neville explains that. He says that he, when he was in his dream, after he told the ladies that, this is a dream, he wanted to get back at home because he realized he has responsibilities back at home. Because before he entered it, he told himself, I'm going to explore this place. Even though there might be consequences, I'm going to explore. Regardless of consequences, I will explore this dream. And he went in and explored it. But then at a certain point, he got stuck there. And he started to feel that he was worried because he has his family back at home that he has to take care of. And he goes, I have unfinished business. I have to get back. And he tried to get himself to wake up by telling himself, wake up, but he wouldn't. So what he ended up doing was applying the same method that he applied to sort of imagine, which is he imagined himself back at home. He imagined a pillow behind his head. He imagined himself being next to his wife. He imagined his child there. He imagined himself back in reality. Because he said if he stayed there, then in this world, his body would just have been dead, and they're going to cut it up and say that, he died from this and that. But he really was just in another place. He just found himself in a different world. And that's exactly what I felt too. I felt like if I passed away, for me, it would make no difference. I wouldn't skip a beat. And yet for the people here, it would be devastating for people in this world. And yet for me, I wouldn't have even noticed. And that's what fourthfold vision is. It's it being so real that you can't differentiate the difference. And I remember I also had this fourthfold vision come upon me when I was not even dreaming, like asleep. I was imagining being in this house, and I remember I did it for a month. I wanted to see what would happen if I imagined myself somewhere for a month, just placing myself there and just sort of participating in the dream. And then one day I actually found myself, almost like I went through like a small tunnel, and then I found myself in that house inside of this is all happening within me. And I was in front of the sink, and I was, touching the water coming from the faucet. And I remember in that moment, I was there. And it terrified me. I got really, really scared because I wasn't expecting, because, when you imagine something, it's kind of shadowy. It's a little bit dark. You kind of are trying to see the image. You're trying to see it, but you're not really there. But this time I was really there. And that time, I guess I got scared because I didn't know how it happened. I didn't know what I did. And it's the reality of it all just frightened me. And then my fear kicked me out of it. I noticed that if I remained relaxed and calm, I would have been there. I would have stayed longer. But because I got really, really terrified, for some reason that kicked me out of the dream and put me back into my body. So I don't know if you have to be sleeping, but there are many people in this world who have these types of dreams where you talk to the people in the dream. You tell them that you're dreaming and they don't believe you. Or they do believe, or they think you've gone mad in the dream. And yet you know back at home you're sleeping. You know this is a dream. That's exactly what will happen here in this world. You will know it's a dream. It's just as real. It feels real. The consequences in the dream feel real. People are startled the same way they would be startled here. You try to shake them. They won't listen to you. To them, it makes no sense that it's a dream. And yet you're the dreamer of all of this. I dreamt up of Cuba. I was there. I dreamt of my family. I was there. I was the dreamer of it all. And I knew I was dreaming. I was awake inside the dream. Yet no one believed me. But you could never tell me otherwise. You could never convince me that I wasn't dreaming. I knew with certainty that I was dreaming. Now, you don't need fourthfold vision to create things in your life. You don't need that. Secondfold vision, again, is a way of seeing life, and then you use that to create a sort of, to weave together images to create a scene or to create sort of a conversation, or you use that for thirdfold vision to create in your life. Now, that will say you don't need fourthfold. Fourthfold to me, it was never something. Now, maybe imagining the same thing over and over for a month is what caused it, but I can't say. It seems like it just sort of comes upon me. So like you are literally awake inside of a dream, and yeah, it feels just as real. I mean, then you know that the flesh, that this physical realm, there's nothing more close to this life than a dream, and it's your imagination can mimic it so well. If anything, we're told that it creates it, and I like the idea of it calling it vision, because it's not saying that you're seeing untrue things. It's just a level of vision that you're looking through. So when you go within yourself and you eavesdrop, as I said, on hearing things about yourself, don't think it's not happening. Don't think it's not real. You're in a certain vision that you're seeing beyond this realm, and you're overhearing what you otherwise are, you don't hear here with your physical ears, but don't think it's not real. You're sort of penetrating a different realm where that is real, and you're experiencing it. So you're finding things within you in a sense, instead of feeling like you're creating it from scratch. Either way, I guess it doesn't matter, but I always like the idea that it's a type of vision that you're looking through, instead of making it all up in a sense. Like you're actually tapping into something that's already there. And from there, you believe in it. You believe in it in its existence. That's what faith is. Faith is going within yourself, seeing what is unseen, seeing it, and believing in it. That's really all it is. And then the unseen becomes seen. And so that's all you need for third-fold vision. If you just want to create in your life, you take states, you weave them together, and there you go. You got yourself a dream, and participate in it. But fourth-fold vision is really what I found special in this, because I love that Blake actually gives it a label, because there's no words to describe how it feels to be awake in a dream and how to touch things in a dream. It just, now for me, I didn't feel that. No, like it looks like for Neville, he got kind of stuck there. Now, I didn't get stuck. What happened to me was the moment I realized I was dreaming, after I touched my mom's shoulders in the dream, I told her, hey, this is a dream. I was shot out of my sort of that dream. I was shot out of it, and I found myself in a black void. It was a completely black void. And I was aware, but there was nothing but just darkness. And I had a huge excitement come upon me, and I felt a strong urge to create. Like I knew it was time for me to create, and it was this big excitement and big urge to do it. I wasn't scared being in the void. I was actually really, really excited to create something. So take what you will from that, but there are many people who have these experiences that they share them too, and they say that I told this person I was dreaming, and they looked at me like I was crazy in the dream, but I knew it. That is fourth-fold vision. But on this level, it seems like all you really need is threefold to create in your life. And it really tells you to stay away from single vision, to see things as they are. Single vision is hearing bad news and just accepting it. You know, that all the world knows single vision. You know, not many know, some know double vision, which is seeing things as symbols, but few actually believe in their threefold vision. Few actually believe that. But you're invited to believe it. You're invited to believe in the unseen. So I'm going to end that one here. That's just what I took away from this. There's more to it. I want to leave it on the levels of vision. I find them important. I find them to, contemplate on that. If you've ever had an experience for yourself and what does it mean to you that you found yourself awake in a dream? What are the implications of this? And it's all happening within the individual. It's all self-evidence. You don't need someone to tell. I don't need anyone to tell me that I was dreaming. I don't need anything on the outside to tell me that I was dreaming. I knew it. That is all the evidence I needed, was that I knew I was dreaming. I knew I could wake myself up and I would find myself back on my bed. So yeah, I'm going to end it here. Again, I'm going to continue do these daily. Just keep a lookout for them. But thank you for listening, guys. I do appreciate it. I know these topics are interesting. They're different. And so I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me.